Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and once again it is time for a squat day. But a quick reminder for those of you who watch these videos, please remember to click like down below, comment, engage, subscribe. And today for the max effort lift, we went with a safety bar, which is for most of us is going to be our weakest bar. And instead of a training max, I would look at this and say, this wasn't really a training max, this was real close to a true max. I don't think I had much more today. You know, best case scenario, I think I had 10 to 15 more pounds on this bar today. But I sank it deep. I practiced sinking it deep on the ramp up. I got 471. I know it looked fast, and people were like, what do you mean? It's like, guys, I was struggling to keep my chest up. Like the chest was really rolling forward due to this bar pressing down. And that's the nature of the safety squat bar. That's what it does. It turns your squat into a very upper back dominant lift. Afterwards, I did 3 sets of 3, and this is a pretty short workout. I got this one done in about 40 minutes because, again, I don't need an enormous amount of volume on my squat days. I just need the right volume with the right movements, and I'm trying to avoid getting too inflamed. So I didn't go super hard on posterior chain stuff today. I have been on both my lower days today. I'm like, so I'm going to probably deficit deadlift for reps, and I'll glute ham raise on Friday on the deadlift day. I really only did one true posterior chain exercise. But context, all my squatting today was super wide. Okay, my max, my rep work, and then my belt squats. I took everything out real wide, so we're working more muscles accordingly. Yeah, it makes us use a little more adductor. It makes us use a little more glute. It uses more hamstring for stabilization. So, you know, the nature of the game there. We are hitting a lot of muscles. And I'm choosing the versions at the moment. I had been messing a little bit with narrower stance, I think, for a couple workouts. I'm like, let me go back to my wider. And I like to rotate these things around. People go, you flip-flop on this. Not really. I like to rotate them. I think we should be good at all of them. But I will always admit the really wide stance has the most potential for overall muscle growth. But in some cases, the narrower stance, if we can get a deeper knee angle, can have a little more quad hypertrophy. There you go. You guys saw my hamstrings there. It's pretty obvious. My hamstrings are pretty well developed. I don't have to hit them super hard every workout. And in fact, if anything, the glute ham raises, if I do too many of them, they leave my hamstrings cramping. So again, I opted out on them today, but I'll definitely hit them later this week. Hit them twice last week. And today I wanted to really focus on just working the interior side, making sure the quads and adductors got hit hard. So I went ahead and took the belt squats up to 5 sets because a lot of times I do 3 sets, but I did 3 sets of assistance work for 3x3 with the safety bar. And then I did 5 sets of these. All right, this brought my quad work, not counting the max, up to 8. We're getting up to a respectable volume for one workout here, right? It's pretty hard to go further than about 8 sets in one workout. You're really sacrificing some intensity, if anything, of doing that. So we got 8, and they were all high quality sets. Got a great pump in my quads. And here's the reason I decided to be really quad dominant today. I felt nothing but the outer edge of my quad. That's what I felt while doing the max. That felt like it was kind of my limiting factor, even though the chest was caving forward. They lit up even on the ramp ups. Even that first one with 4 plates aside really hammered that area hard. And I'm like, okay, I've got to keep working my quads. And granted, the safety bar, it's going to have some upper back. Right, there's just no way around that. But I don't feel like that's a particularly weak area for me. And if anything, I feel like if my quads didn't feel so fatigued there, maybe I could have locked it faster and I wouldn't have felt as much of that. So that's a different way to look at it. And again, I could probably look at these and compare, but I think at this point, my safety bar is real close to what my current squat is. And yes, my squat has regressed when I got sick. It regressed when I cut. After that last bulk, because if you guys recall, I hit a 535, last year, right? I hit a 535 while bulking last year. So we need to get back to that. So what did we do with this assistance work today? Outside of just the 3x3, I just did 5 sets of 10 on the belt squat. And then I did supersets with the reverse hyperextension. And we can get away with that. In fact, if anything, it works really well because it pulls that traction in your back. It gives you that low back, gives you that hamstring pump, everything else that will help stabilize these a little bit better. Right, and that's one of the things I've noticed when I do these belt squats is that my knees feel more stable if I superset them with something that works the hamstring. Whether it's the glute ham raise or the reverse hyperextension. I might even consider trying it with good mornings, but I'd need to be careful. I would say I could get away with it with good mornings because it's a belt squat. If it was some other type of squat, probably not. But these other movements, there is no compression of the spine. So we have axial loading at the start, very, very high fatigue. We go to a max and we did a 3x3 with a safety bar, a lot of compressive force, just like on my deadlift days. And then after we do that, I try to mostly do stuff that puts us in traction or takes at least the load off of our back. In this case, the belt squat, some people argue and say it puts the back in traction. I am a little skeptical of that biomechanically. However, at the very least, there is zero load on your back because all the weight is distributed across your hips. Okay, this is again one of my favorite squat builders. Whereas then the reverse hyperextension puts us into traction and has a restorative effect, and it pulls those discs back apart. Again, if you suffer from any sort of low back pain, cramping, anything like that, or you've ever had a back injury, you have to have one of these devices. Okay, I always tell people this is not optional. Over the last few years, I have convinced at least a dozen clients to buy these. I'm not saying current clients because I don't have all the people I've convinced to buy one, but at least a dozen, if not more, of my clients have bought these. I still have a few of my current ones who still have ones that I advise them to buy. All right? And then after all of that, we finish up with some ab work. And right now I'm kind of on my standing ab work kick again. For a long time I was doing the hanging leg raises, which again I prescribe those a lot. And generally speaking for abs, I tend to only do either standing crunches of some type or hanging leg raises. And the idea here is the specificity in this case on any sort of standing work as potential carryover to things like our squats and deadlifts, right? Because we do those standing and we have to drive our feet into the floor. Well, in this, we're doing the same thing. We're having to drive our feet into the floor while working our abdominals, okay? Same thing if you were to take athletes who are in any sort of contact sport. If you're going to get hit in the ring or out on the playing field, unless it's grappling and you're down on the ground, it's going to tend to be while you're standing. So we could maybe make the case for this for them also. But in any sport, almost every sport, with some exceptions, we're on our feet. We're on our feet when we need our abs to work. So I tend to like this stuff. The reason I like the hanging leg raises is because of the potential for squat carryover due to working the hip flexors the way that they do. Plus they put you into traction. So we get that restorative effect also. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys next time.